Once there was a small town that was known for its beautiful countryside, its friendly people, and its annual harvest festival. However, there was one place that the townspeople avoided at all costs, an old, abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town. It was said that the mansion was cursed and that anyone who entered would never return. Despite the warnings, a group of friends, Tom, Sarah, Lucy, and Jack, decided to explore the mansion on a dare. They had heard the rumors, but they didn't believe in curses or ghosts. They thought it would be an exciting adventure. As they approached the mansion, they couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The windows were boarded up, the front door was hanging off its hinges, and the garden was overgrown with weeds. They hesitated for a moment, but then Tom, the bravest of the group, pushed open the door and they all stepped inside. The inside of the mansion was just as decrepit as the outside. The wallpaper was peeling, the floors were creaky, and there was a thick layer of dust everywhere. They started to explore the ground floor, but they didn't find anything out of the ordinary. Just as they were starting to think that the rumors were all a hoax, they heard a strange noise coming from upstairs. They slowly climbed the stairs, each step creaking underfoot. The noise grew louder and louder until they reached the top of the stairs. They found themselves in a long, dark corridor with several closed doors on either side. The noise was coming from behind one of the doors. Tom, being the bravest, slowly approached the door and opened it. Inside, they found a room that was in complete darkness. They couldn't see anything, but they could feel a cold breeze coming from inside. Suddenly, the room was filled with light and they could see that it was empty. They quickly realized that the noise was coming from the room next door. They opened the door and found a room that was in complete disarray. The furniture was broken, the wallpaper was torn, and there were strange symbols and writing on the walls. In the middle of the room, there was a large circle drawn on the floor. The circle was made of salt, and in the center of it, there was a strange object. It was a small, black orb that seemed to be pulsing with an eerie light. Sarah, the curious one, picked up the orb and held it in her hand. As soon as she touched it, the room began to shake and the symbols on the walls began to glow. Suddenly, they were all thrown back as the room was filled with a bright light. When they came to, they found themselves in a completely different room. It was a grand, ornate room with a fireplace and a large chandelier hanging from the ceiling. The room was filled with people dressed in old-fashioned clothes. The people in the room were staring at them in shock, as if they had never seen outsiders before. Tom, Sarah, Lucy, and Jack quickly realized that they had somehow been transported back in time. They tried to leave the room, but the door was locked. They were trapped. The people in the room began to ask them questions, but the friends couldn't understand what they were saying. They soon realized that the people were speaking a language that they didn't know. Just as they were starting to feel hopeless, a door opened and a woman entered the room. She was dressed in a long, flowing gown and she had a kind face. She walked over to them and smiled. The woman spoke to them in perfect English and told them everything would be all right. The friends asked what had happened. The woman stared back as if she knew everything. She looked at us with an emotionless gaze. We weren't sure what to say or do. The woman then asked us to come with her and she explained that this scenario had occurred before. We were shocked to learn this, but it seemed like the woman was our only hope back in the present time. She stood us all in a circle, and she chanted some strange words and held a similar orb in her hand that we had found in the room earlier. Soon, we were transported back to another dimension, and there were lights flashing everywhere. We were all scared, however when we opened our eyes, we found ourselves back in the same old house we had entered in earlier. We ran out without looking back. We all promised never to speak of this incident again. To this day, my mind wanders about that unfortunate house.